So welcome today to the Building Your Budgets for Your Clients. Like I said, Kathy Icon is here, ready to get going. So let's get started in what we're going to talk about for today. So today, again, the topic is building budgets for your clients. And I think this is a really important service that we can be providing our clients that helps us get more into that advisory role, helps us be someone, a team member with our clients, help them uh, lean on us a little bit more. That increases our value with our clients, all of that. Um, so it's and here's the other thing is that you're helping the business grow. You're helping them come up with, okay, what are we hope to happen in the next year? So let's, figure out this business, see how it operates and everything, and create a budget for you for the next year. So I'm going to go through some steps today of planning with your clients, gathering information, determining the budget numbers in the final review. I'm not going into QuickBooks Online today. I actually exported some data and we will look at that and create a budget from there and a real life example of things. Um, so you'll see that. And then you also will see that I have put up a couple of files for you guys to download. Um, let me see if I can get it. Look at what I did. So I got a budget planner and the slides for the presentation, building budgets for your clients. Okay, so those two are available as handouts to download. And let me know if you have any questions or issues with that. So let's get started with a little bit more about me and why why you should even care that I'm teaching you about budgets, right? Like who am I and what do I know, sort of thing. So I am a CPA. I have been in accounting, I think, forever. But 10 years ago, I started my own outsourced bookkeeping practice. And then I guess 6 years ago now, I started QBO Chat as a weekly Twitter chat for QuickBooks Online users. And we have been chatting away on Twitter every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern since, talking about different topics about QuickBooks Online and everything. I have been um, passionate about QuickBooks Online since before it was even cool. So early on in my practice, I became a QBO only firm in helping clients with QuickBooks Online exclusively. So I have become a QuickBooks Online expert and been following along with the app as it grows and evolves and knowing how things change and all of that sort of stuff. So QBO Chat was an extension of my knowledge of that. Then we have the website with more content and information. And then a year ago, I started offering training courses to other accountants and bookkeepers on QuickBooks Online and other areas of practice management. So marketing, this is going, more diving into other services that we can provide our clients and that sort of stuff. At the same time, I also started the Build Your Best QBO Practice Facebook group. If you are not a member of that, go ahead and request to join. It is a free Facebook group, and people are in there helping each other out. The goal of the group is to help you figure out what is the best practice for you, not what a whole bunch of thought leaders are telling you that you need to be doing in your practice, but giving you options and seeing how everyone else does things and all of that sort of stuff, and finding, the path that's right for you. Not everyone is going to offer budgeting services, and that's okay. But if you are interested in offering it, I'm going to give you resources to help you figure that out, right? Those are the sorts of things that you're going to find in the group, and then also on the website and everything that I'm doing now. I did scale back on the number of clients I have, just a handful now, but that I'm still in the bookkeeping game. I'm still like in the product, paying attention to it, dealing with things so that I'm aware of what's going on, like you guys, when you guys have issues, right? So, but let's go back to the beginning of my career. I started working for a local CPA firm. I was hired into the tax department, which lasted about a month, and I was quickly pulled into the forensic department. And within the forensic department, I worked for a partner that did insurance claims where there's a type of coverage called business interruption. And what that means is if a business is impacted by something that it has to shut down for a period of time, um, you can possibly get reimbursed for what your net income should have been during that period. My example is always hotels hit by hurricanes. You're shut down for months or something, um, rebuilding and all of that sort of stuff. So we project out what your net income should have been for that period of time, and that could be your claim. Okay. So early on, I am analyzing numbers and forecasting and coming up with these things, right? Then I had some time in the audit department, which again is a lot of analyzing numbers, figuring out what makes sense, seeing if things are done properly, all of that. Then I moved on from the CPA firm and went into corporate accounting for a global construction company. And there I did mostly management reporting for the executives that have no understanding of the financials, right? They are in charge of their job sites and their projects, but not necessarily how that then calculates onto financial statements, especially with construction accounting and all the crazy things that can happen there. So my job was to help come up with management reporting so that we could connect those executives to the financials and help report on how the projects are going and all that sort of stuff. Again, we did a lot of budgeting and forecasting and figuring all of this sort of stuff out. So my point being is that ever since I started, I've been analyzing businesses. I've been analyzing financials, figuring out what kind of knowing what's going to happen next or figuring out, forecasting, um, and just kind of coming up with what I expect is going to happen in the future, right? And there's so many different tools and ways to do this. So that's why I wanted to create this course to share it with you guys. So the first thing here is that I want to make it clear that when you are creating a budget, you cannot do this in a silo. You cannot do it without your clients. Um, Now, they don't necessarily need to be a part of all the calculations and how you're doing everything, but you need them to help you better understand the business and understand um, how you're going to project out what's going to, happen. How is this budget going to be created? So, I mean, you definitely need to have a very, very clear understanding of the business, how different departments operate, how things are sold, how they're invoiced, how projects are managed, if you have projects, all of that sort of stuff, like all the different components of the financials. You want to understand how that happens in real life with the business owners. So you want to talk to them about that and understand um, what they're doing and everything. You want to definitely find out the vision and goals for the business. Uh, the whole point is that we're trying to connect our clients with their vision, where they want to go. And we can do that by helping them create a budget to figure out, okay, here are, the steps that we need to take to get there, to get to your goal. And is it possible, and all of that sort of stuff. And then definitely learn about what changes they expect to see in the future. Are they adding a new office space, letting go of employees? Are they, you know, all of this sort of stuff that will have major impacts on the financials, um, things that you need to know about, and you can get that information from them when, just starting out planning, like, okay, tell me what's going on in the business, tell me where you're going, what you expect. And you got to ask those types of probing questions to them, because they're not going to think about, oh, well, if I add office space, or if I do something, um, oh yeah, that does impact the financials, and that does impact my budget. For many of them, it's just like, oh, I just want to make X amount of dollars next year in revenue or something. Um, when we do a budget, we're going, and in this example, everything I'm going through is the whole P&L. Okay, we're budgeting out revenue, and we're giving you budgets for expenses, everything. So we got to see how all that interacts together, because there's all these relationships between revenue and expenses, and this expense to that expense, all of this sort of stuff. There's all these connections. We can understand them when we look at the numbers, but our clients can't. The clients can basically just give us the narrative of what's happening, and then we get to translate that into numbers for them. Okay? So let me exit out of this real quick and show you what I have shared with you guys. This is a nice little PDF I have put together, and I have as a budget planner for you. Okay, so first, again, we're starting out with, what is the company's current vision? Like, where do they want to go? What do they want to be? Okay, and then I get straight into it. So let's look at what our current numbers are: revenue, and number of employees, and net income. Then tell me what you want it to be next year. And then tell me where you want it to be in 5 years. Okay. So that we can give an understanding of, are we on the right trajectory to get to that 5-year goal? We might be just doing the budget for next year, but I want someone, a business owner, to think more than just a year away, to keep on, looking into the future, so that they know that we can keep on doing this budget and forecasting and all of this sort of stuff, to help them get to where they're going. Now, maybe next year these things change. Um, Maybe things come up and they change, but without some sort of idea of where you want to go and what you see yourself in the future, you have no idea how to create a path to get there. Otherwise, you're just going to keep on doing what you're doing now, and you never know how it's going to end. Like that. I mean, the business might literally just end if you're doing what you're doing. Um, so yeah, we want to look at this. We want to get really into their head and really figure out what their dreams are of where they want to take that business. And then also have an area here of, do you have any other big goals for next year? Just if they have any, I'm trying to ask as many probative questions to them to get as much information out of their brains as possible. Because how working with clients, they might not think something is necessary to us, but they have all these things going on in their head. We're trying to pull as much out as possible. So then I break it down to different departments. So marketing and sales. What changes are you expecting to see with marketing and sales to reach your goals for next year? Are you planning on making any changes to your services, to your sales process? Those sorts of things are important to know, because that's going to go into our numbers, right? Employees and training. What changes do you expect to see? Again, hiring, firing, all of that sort of stuff. That costs money, right? It'll help us determine what those expenses are. Do you have any training requirements in place for your employees? Uh, if so, explain. And what are you doing to keep morale high? These are things that help build a strong business, and you want to have those things in place in your budget so that you can help grow that strong business. Okay. And you want to put that into the owner's heads of, hey, you really also should be thinking about this sort of stuff, not last minute, oh yeah, I'm going to throw a Christmas party or something. And oh, I was supposed to tell you that I need to put money in there for the budget for that. Yeah. Okay, technology, definitely also a big thing. Like, how is the business, what technology does the business need to operate? Are you going to need to invest in more stuff? Any other things that are going on there with technology. I will say to remember that the examples I'm giving you on the budget is a budget for a profit and loss only. We are not budgeting out capital expenses or payments on loans or anything like that. We're not getting down to like the cash flow budgeting of stuff or forecasting. So sometimes sometimes we build technology purchases and put it into the budget um, because I don't know, because they're under the fixed asset amount. We put those amounts in there, or maybe you even add those kinds of purchases um, when you're creating the budget as additional items so that you can kind of track them. But QBO does not offer budgets on the balance sheet. So when we're loading budgets, it's just going to be on the P&L into QBO. So just know that. And we're going to somehow you have to communicate that with the client too and figure out a system in place to be able to like, okay, do I really need to start tracking this and how am I going to deal with that separately? Okay, office and overhead. Then, are there going to be any changes to administrative expenses, office supplies, all of these other sorts of things? And then do you have any big plans when it comes to overhead and that sort of stuff? So again, you have this planner saved in the handouts for you that you can download at your convenience. Okay, so getting back into our presentation, we are next going to talk about gathering information for our budget. So I showed you the budget planner, so that's a way to gain information from our client, right? But there's also things that we can do. Research the industry to see if there's any information to help you with what's going on. Associations may have different reports available to you, what they are expecting to see in the next year, next 5 years, something like that. You can also go to firstresearch.com and you can purchase industry reports from there. And they can give you an idea of, what's going on in the industry, what kind of ratios you expect on the financials. So it helps with benchmarking, which then also can help with you determining what the numbers should be in the future, right? I can tell you when I did the hotel claims, there was I'm going off of memory here from a long time ago, star reports, which were hotel reports from the like general area, the local area. So the hotels would all send in their occupancy data and all of this sort of stuff like anonymously, and it would give you on average what would you expect or the results that happened over a period of time. So then you could kind of compare your hotel against the area's reports of it. Those again were purchased. I remember I did a claim um, like on logging and timber and having to run timber reports and projected like production of logging and something like that in different areas. Um, and I did like medical claims where medical offices were closed and projecting out what those businesses were making and um, I guess like the increase in chemo drug pricing and all of this sort of stuff. So it really does help to actually get information from the industry because that can impact how you're coming up with these budget numbers and what you're projecting out for the next year. Then what really starting to get down into business, I like to export the prior year's financials into Excel. Well, the prior year's P&L into Excel. I do that by month. So I have the P&L detailed out by month. Okay. And then I either export or just use QBO so that I can look into the detail of the different accounts and what makes up those transactions so that I can help kind of project out what's going to happen in the future. Okay, makes sense? Okay, now when we are determining budget numbers, think about first revenue. Okay, now one, I usually create budgets and have them laid out per month. Okay. Yes, you could do it over the whole year, but and then when you put it into QBO, it just kind of straight lines your numbers per month if you want to do that. I like to go a little bit more into detail and do it by month when I enter in the information. So that's where for me it's important, is the business cyclical? Do you expect revenue to be high in the summer months, um, holidays, all this sort of stuff? Are there ups and downs? What do you expect to happen there? Are there going to be changes to what is sold? Um, what's the goal for next year's revenue? Usually the client's just going to come out and be like, hey, I want to increase revenue by 10% next year. And then you get to build it. Like, how is that going to happen? How are you going to do that? And that sort of thing. Um, and then looking at anything else that can impact next year's revenue. So it is back to that planner, getting into um, the mind of the business owner and figuring out, what everything that they're saying, how could it really impact the numbers on the financials. Then the next part is we start looking at expenses, and we want to, very quickly determine, are your expenses variable or fixed? Are they going to increase and decrease based off of what the revenue is, or are they just going to be the same? Okay. Uh, and it doesn't have to be 100% correct. I don't think there is such a thing that is um, absolutely a variable expense that says I will change by X percentage every single time of all of my revenue or whatever it is. There's very few examples of that, but you can get an idea, a general sense of things of how variable something is. Rent usually fixed, right? Unless maybe we get into a new level of business and then we need to add more office space or something like that, it's not variable then. It's just a matter of like we've reached a new level and we have to increase it. And that's what we're going to consider when we go through these numbers. Um, constantly asking, are there going to be any changes to things? What do we see? Do we see anything historically that dropped off that we were spending money on? Because then I really don't want to project that out for the next year, right? So looking at those sorts of things. Then also looking at employees and payroll, figuring out, can you reach your revenue goals based off of the staff that you have currently? And how many employees do you need to reach that revenue? Or, are they part-time? Are they consultants, contractors, all of this sort of stuff? Because remember, there's other expenses that are associated with these employees. So we kind of really need to have a good understanding of what's going on there. Are they going to get an increase in pay? Man, there's so much to think about, right? And then you want to review those expenses department by department, really go through the detail on each of them to see if things are really making sense and you're not missing stuff. Okay. Then your final review of going through things is we were in detail that whole time, right? And I'm going to show you this. We're going through this in Excel. We're in detail the whole time. You got to take, a step back, give yourself a day or so, and come back and look at the big picture of this budget. Does the whole thing make sense? Is the business even making money or net income at the end of this? Um, so if you're budgeting out horrible results, then you might need to go back and change some assumptions, try to fix things, and move stuff around there. Um, like I said, this doesn't include other payments, non P&L stuff. So you want to make sure that um, you know that the net income you're ending up with can also fund, purchases of new servers or new whatever, a new car, new, all of those sorts of things. You want to be able to have that in here. Make sure that your net income can like support all of that. And then also like on the net income, is it the number that your business owner wants? I mean, if it's a smaller business, um, it, net income might just be what they get, at the end of the day. And we need to make sure that they are getting what they need to sustain their household so that they can continue to operate the business. Because if they can't even pay for their own living expenses, how are they going to continue to run a business, right? And then it is so important to get buy-in from the client. um, if they are not involved in this process in any way, or and they don't kind of like review the final thing, approve it, see these things, make confirm that they make sense and all this sort of stuff, then the budget's not, it doesn't mean anything to them. Okay, you gotta get some sort of emotional attachment from them on this. And usually you can get an emotional attachment on revenue because they want to increase revenue by X% or something. But really get them to focus on what they're going to get at the end of the day. That net income number, is your business profitable? Because that gets them invested in those expenses too, I feel like I've dealt with so many clients that are just looking at revenue and they want to increase revenue and they don't care that they're going to, well, they don't even realize they're not going to get as much money at the end of the day because they're just working so hard to increase revenue. I'm like, it's not what we should be in business about. We should be in business to support ourselves and make a profit. And if we're not doing that, then what is why why are we doing this, um because yeah, we don't want to be just struggling all the time. We want to help our clients um build a life from this. Okay, so let's get into some details of things. Okay. So as you can see, I have a P&L here, right? And like I said, I just export this out into Excel and I do it by month, okay? And you can see I have this all, it goes all the way down. I'll let you know that when I set up financials for my clients or do the chart of accounts, I utilize sub accounts pretty heavily so that I can group things together. And in my mind, they're kind of grouped together by departments. So again, you have cost of goods sold, but then I'm like marketing. So marketing can be kind of a department or, a separate function of the business, right? You have office, administrative stuff, payroll, training, technology, and then facility sort of expenses, travel, all of that. So that's how I kind of break these out for my clients. I do have a chart of account template up on QBOchat.com that you can buy, and you can kind of see my general layout of things. It gives you a very detailed breakdown of the chart of accounts, like the whole thing, and gives you the sub accounts, and you can utilize that to import into QBO now with the sub accounts. It's pretty awesome. But let's talk about the budget. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is like, hey, I got this. That's last year. I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of it. And I am going to say 2017 budget. Okay, and I am going to get rid of all of my detail. So I want the formulas to still work in here, but I want a fresh start. I want to see everything that is, I'm creating this from scratch. So I'm getting rid of all of this still. Okay. Then, so I'm actually going to, let's see, let's do 17. Let's see if this works now. Pull this over. Great. 2017, and I'll just call this budget right here. Okay. Then let's do some stuff like we'll do prior year in here. I am going to, oops. So I gotta unmerge all this. So I can actually copy the formatting of this whole column right here. I can copy it and paste that formatting, and it makes it exactly the same. And then I'm just going to add or copy over the formulas that we have in here. I am not copying the total formula because it adds up this direction. I want to add up from that direction, okay? But utilize the formulas that QBO gives us to make life easier for you. Copy, paste, copy, paste. Okay, the other thing I want to do is I'm actually going to, I kind of want to compare, like you see right here, I want to compare the prior year number to what I'm going to come up with, right? So the great way to do that is to use a lookup formula. So I'm going to say equals VLOOKUP. And within the lookup formula, it tells you exactly everything you need to find, okay? So the first thing I want to find is the lookup value, which is going to be consulting revenue. And then I want to find the table of where I'm going to look that up for, which is going to be this nice table over here, my prior year numbers, right? And then what column number am I going to have? So every time you see 4,000 consulting, bring back which column, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I want to get the 14th. I really hope I counted that right. And then I want it to be an exact match. So I want that to be false. And look, it is pulling over the number for me. And I can just copy that all the way down. So then it's populating all of the numbers for me. How cool is that? And when I'm doing budgets, I want to compare as much as I can to any other data source that I have access to, because that is just, the more I have to compare, the better information I am going to get out of things. Okay. So let's move into let's start with revenue on things. And looking at 2016 revenue, we have this breakdown of stuff. So we have consulting, project revenue, training income, social media services, other consulting revenue, retainers, software reimbursements, sale of product income, unapplied sort of stuff. So okay, we're not going to deal with unapplied. Okay, so let me put some comments off to the side, and I like to put these in other numbers. So don't project out. We're not going to project that sucker out. Software reimbursements, really don't care. Customer retainers. So this is just on this client, what would happen is that we'd use a retainer account on the P&L to help deal with, calculating what the retainers were. Really, it was these numbers go up and down to clear out the retainer. So I don't want to deal with that numbering or those amounts within this budget. So I'm not going to do that either. So I have all of those are zero, right? Other consulting revenue, it looks like I had some stuff going on, right? And maybe that's what I, expect the same next year. Okay. So we're just going to put that there. Social media, we have this going along the way. You have some ups and downs, some things going on. Okay. Training income, there's really not anything. So I'm going to say expect zero right there. And remember, this all has to do with the story. I'm conveniently just coming up with a story for you guys during this. But yeah, we'll see how it all works out. Okay. Um, project revenue and then consulting revenue. It looks like it kind of went away here. So maybe it is not dealt with on this line item anymore, and maybe it's all moved to project revenue in the future. Okay, so we're going to move this to 4,200 in the budget. Okay, so we have an idea of what we're going to do with the revenue numbers. Now, here's a question: what do we want to see? Do we want to see revenue increase, decrease, stay the same, anything like that? If you guys have a suggestion, put it in. Give me percentage. Give me something, and we'll go off of that. 10%, perfect. 10% increase. Okay. So, what I'm going to do, we're going to have some fun with some formulas on things, okay? So let's say I want to do 10% straight line across all of this. Not straight line, but 10% of exactly how it happened last year, okay? So I'm going to take these two, copy, and then do a paste special and add those two together, right? Oh, come on. It was supposed to work for me. Values, add, see if it works. Ah! Okay, so I'm going to say equals the sum of these two together, okay? And then I can actually just pull that all the way across, and that's pulled in all of my numbers from that other spreadsheet, right? Now, I want to increase it by 10%. So I have 1.1 listed there, right? So I'm going to copy that. And then I am going to paste special, do a multiply, and I want to say formulas. Let's see if that works. So when I do that, so look what happens. I now have a formula in here that says sum of those two and then multiply by 1.1%. Haha, look at that. I increased it by 10%. Awesome. So, and to check, I can do this. And I have increased it by 110%. Perfect. Okay, and then let's say I want to increase this sucker by 10%, but I want it to be the same amount all the way across. So what I can do on social media, I can say this, and then if you do the reference numbers, so we can put those dollar signs in there. It will be a static reference. It always references that one cell. And I do that divided by 12. And then I'm going to pull that across. So we have budget out this number and this one. We're going to expect this one to be exactly the same. So I am going to, again, just link it over to this, pull it across. Okay. So my budget right here is actually, let's see how we're doing. It ends up being about an 8% increase because we're expecting that consulting revenue here to be about the same, but everything else is increasing by 10%, okay? So this all looks good. Then the next area, right, we wanna look at cost of goods sold. So historically, we have these costs here, right? And we have project software, so any software related to these clients, and then the subcontractor expenses on things. It looks like in 2016, we're pretty heavy on the expenses over here. What I'm looking at is trying to determine if there is any kind of variability to expenses. So do I, because revenue increased, should these expenses, are they fixed or variable on things, right? Should they increase by 10% or should they not? So looking at this, I am going to say that this is a percentage of, let's say, these two numbers up here. Okay, so basically our new project revenue, it's going to be 11% of it, okay? So, and then let's do the same thing for our cost of goods sold. Actually, I'm gonna just do it off of all of these. Do-do, do-do, and that. Okay, so it's percentage. Do-do-do. So those three should now be my, that should be the revenue for next year, right? And then this is the percentage of just those two. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to come here and say equals that times that little percentage I came up with. Going to make that a static reference by having those dollar signs in there. And then I am just going to increase that or pull that over right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing of just pulling this number now, because that's what the contractor revenue or the subcontractor expenses off of, and do that against my percentage and roll it across. Okay, so now I have an idea of, projecting out what those expenses are going to be. So let me make sure I'm going to clear out some of these questions I have on my screen. Will there be a recording of this available to reference? There will be a recording that you should get a link to afterwards. Then do we get this Excel workbook? I can give this to you guys once I'm done with it. I didn't want to provide it to you before I did anything to it. So yeah, I could definitely send this out to you guys. Let's see. Okay. So going back here. Then the next area is let's look at marketing, okay? And what we have going on in marketing. So I've actually exported the detail from QBO to see what was in marketing before. So we had some advertising costs going on, right? It didn't, I mean, we tested it out. It looks like there's some January, it's not a lot of stuff going on. It ended up being $253. So the question is like, do we want to test out advertising again? Do we want to deal with that again? Maybe I'm going to give a budget of $100 per month, okay? So if I do that, and yes, in Facebook advertising world, that's like hardly anything, but we're testing it out, okay? We're gonna see how the numbers fall out and see if that makes any sense, because they really didn't do anything before. Okay. Then looking at website hosting and that sort of stuff, what have we done in the past? It looks like we have a GoDaddy and a DigitalOcean amount. And I know it's not consistent all the way across. It looks like it kind of went away. So maybe they're not hosting anymore. Maybe their website went defunct. Don't think so. I think we need to get back on top of that. So let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I can just take the sum of, like, highlight all of these and I can kind of see, okay, the average was $21. Count, there's 16 of these. $336 is the sum, obviously. So the average is $21, but I want to see kind of like that's 22, 23. So let's say it's like $30 a month. Okay. I want to give a good number, give us a little bit of cushion in it, and pull that over. Okay. Then some professional marketing that we've done some blog posts throughout the year. So that ended up being how many blog posts were there? 4 plus 2 plus 4 plus 2 plus 5 plus 2. We ended up doing 19 blog posts last year that we got some copy done for. So, which ended up being $1,900. How many blog posts do we want to do this year? Let's do 2 a month. It's a good idea to do. So equals 2 times 100. That's historically what we paid. I think that's kind of cheap, but hey, let's look at it. Okay. Client gifts. I got nothing. Oh wait, no, I do. I have bad expenses in client gifts. I have Canva in there, which is a software program. So I really don't want to deal with that. Client gifts. Ugh. That one's always a hard one. Like no gifts for them. No. Let's make sure we put out some money around Christmas to do like holiday cards and stuff like that. So I'm gonna give them, we probably got a plan for it, get ahead of it. So let's do 200, or 250 each of these months, right? So we're gonna have postage, we're gonna have all of that sort of stuff, right? And then marketing details, social media. Here are like all the apps that we have going to manage social media. So right now we have, let's see, Hootsuite, MailChimp, Canva, Hash Tracking, Sprout Social, Canva again, and Hootsuite. So I want to pull this down. Oh, I can't put it in merge cells, guys. Okay. I'm gonna get rid of one of these Canvas. So let's see, MailChimp is 10, Hash Tracking 50, Sprout Social 9, Canva 10, and Hootsuite 5.99. So it is expecting that much a month, $84.99. And knowing these guys are probably going to add more to it. So let's add this plus another 30 bucks. No, plus 30 bucks. So I'm going to come up with that number every month to expect. Okay. Oh, I needed my reference, my static referencey thingies, my dollar signs. Okay. So office supplies, meals, entertainment, bake charges, dues, subscriptions. Let's look at that more on the P&L side. So we can kind of see like what's going on. Office supplies, maybe I just increase this by 5%, just because things increase in price. Okay. And so I will straight line that. So that's where you want to think, like, are there times where you're doing it more, spending stuff more or less? Um, or is it just like kind of static throughout the year? Um, and you're not sure, whatever, that sort of thing, and deal with it. Yeah, how do you lay that out, all out on the months? Um, okay, then website, oh no, right down here. Meals and entertainment. Let's see, at the high, I'm going to do average of this, average of those months. It looks like we kind of stopped, but the months that we were active, we were about $35. So I'm going to put that in here. Run that. Bank charges is an interesting one because these bank charges actually includes, if you saw the detail, includes all the QuickBooks payments fees of all the credit card stuff. So we expect it to be about like 3% of revenue, right? Say that we accept credit cards on everything. So I'm actually going to go up here and do it as 3% and run that across. Okay. Dues and subscriptions, we're going to keep that the same, which I'm actually just going to copy and paste that over. Same thing with the malpractice. It happens the same time. And let's do it with legal and professional too, even though that looks pretty cheap, doesn't it, guys? And we're not going to put anything in for charity for the sake of time. Okay, big one here, staff wages. And what are we going to do with all this? So we have wages, we have taxes. So let's look at those taxes. Taxes as a percent of payroll comes out to 7.9. That seems reasonable, right? So let's see. I'm looking for easy ones first. Long-term care. It looks like the price went up. So this is the new price. And I am going to paste that in there. What are we going to do with payroll? The average monthly is $7,400. We are increasing the business by 10% in some of those areas. I think that they really have the capacity to absorb that with their staff. So I want to keep this the same, but I want to kind of make this more static on things. I will tell you guys that sometimes I go to the point, like if they pay, like do biweekly payroll, I will figure out which months have the 3 weeks of payroll in them and make sure that those are budgeted correctly on here. But say these people are paying twice a month, okay? So it's easy enough for me to say, give them a specific number every month, and I'll go with the $7,500, okay? And I'll pull that over. Then I want to put in the taxes based off of the historical percentage right there. Now, if you knew anything was changing or any more, things were happening, we'd want to make those changes to things. Now, let's look at the contractor expenses. Let's just leave that at 0. We don't need anything there. And payroll processing looks like it's about $14 a month, especially on the recent stuff. Okay. I know I'm coming up on that hour. It's almost done. But if you do need to drop off, I understand, but I'm going to keep on going a little bit longer, and we're going to save that recording so that you can access it, okay? So you don't miss out on anything. Training, we don't have anything in here. I'm not going to add anything else to it right now. Then we have software and maintenance. So let's look down here. Do I have, oh, that's in the technology area. Let's see what I have for the last month of the year. Okay, so sure you've seen some of these apps before. I like throwing in apps names that you guys are used to. Dropbox, got 2 Google accounts. Okay, and let's add that up. So that's our current subscription level, which is $169. What do you think? We should round this up? I'm going to round it up to 175. So we're going to come down here. Where are you? I did it over here. There we go. So you can see some of these are just fixed, and we're just like, okay, what is it every single time? Rent. We can just look at the last month's rent. Historically, they had some changes, but let's look what they did in December. Let's go with that sucker. You could even estimate out, oh, I didn't put in my thing, my dollar signs. You can say maybe they have an increase halfway through the year or something like that, right? Utilities, let's look at those. This one, it's just a cell phone bill. So it looks actually just like the last how many months, it was about $75, $76. Instead of linking it to an exact amount, I'm just going to go with that 75. And then let's look at travel from last year. It looks like we had something going on in, what month is that? July, and something that happened in October. So maybe I have those events, every July and October. So let's just copy those numbers. Where's my July? It is in H. Maybe I need to increase these prices, a fair amount. So I'll do 300, 200 on meals, $50 there. 500, 100, 150. Okay, so I'm just putting some numbers in there, giving them more space, and I want to see how this all like ends up, okay? And then I'm Looking at interest earned, that stuff, Business registration, licenses, expenses, we're going to put that back down in here. Increase this by 10% because we want our revenue to go up 10%. And so what I've done here is really I've now built out what I think next year is going to be. Okay, right? So I have this, let me freeze these panes. So I have this, and now I have, so last year I made $1,000, and this year I'm hoping for 4,200. I don't have a lot of room here. There's not a lot going on things. So the question is maybe do I need to actually decrease things? Maybe, maybe I need to let go of some payroll and absorb that more. So if I did 5,000, right, and pull this across, now look at how much profit there is. There's 35,000. And remember, my formula updated so that it's still the same, percentage for the taxes and everything. And maybe I just put in some contractors here and there. Like, every couple of months, I put in some contractor expenses to help with things. And that's actually, I end up in a better position, right? Remember, while I increased revenue by 10%, and that, what is that dollar value? Is $11,000 that I'm adding, hoping to add to revenue. That doesn't mean I get that $11,000 at the end of the day, right? Just by cutting back on that payroll number, I'm actually adding more to the business than I did before. So, than just by increasing revenue. Look at that, $29,000. So, that, can I actually do that? Is it possible to do? Let's have these discussions with the business owner. Okay. Back to, let's review things with them, get buy-in from them. Because while they say, I want things to increase 10%, once you come down to it and really see how these numbers relate to that increase in revenue, where you're still paying rent, you're still doing this, or doing some more marketing than we did last year, hopefully to help you get to that 10% increase, we're investing more in that. Let's see, what else did I increase a lot? Man, I gave $3,000 more into administrative stuff. Not sure that was necessary. Maybe I need to cut back on some of that, right? Maybe I need to change this to $75 a month instead of that $136. So that saved me a little bit. But looking at these, so that went up 3%. It's that sucker. Maybe I need to accept some ACHs, or maybe I need to increase my rates. Because I did that. We'll see. I don't know. All these kind of discussions that you can have with your clients and go through on things with them, which is, pretty cool. And think of all of that value you're now adding to them in these conversations that you can have with them. You might not want to show them all of this detail. You might want to give them some summary information like, hey, we are seeing that we can get, we're projecting out revenue to be this, right? Which ends up really being an 8% increase. So we might need to increase, your project revenue even more or something like that so we can get to your 10 that you wanted. But showing them the big numbers of things, not necessarily all the details, will help them understand stuff. I would really give them that condensed view of this, of just looking at the sub accounts, like, okay, what's computers and tech? What's that going to be next year? And again, getting their buy-in, because otherwise it's going to mean nothing. So I do see, how do you get the P&L detail pages into the Excel spreadsheet? So really what I did beforehand is I ran that P&L by month in QBO, right? And then I went and I clicked on like the total amounts, and that gave me the detail sheets, and I just exported them and I added them to Excel. So it was very manual and me doing it so that I'd have it. Again, but this is me manipulating stuff and to get a file that's good for this example. Most of the time you probably just be in QBO looking at things. So that would be a difference on stuff. Okay. Do you have an example of the narrative that would go with this budget for the business owner? No, I don't. You've heard, you'll, so I would just listen back to the presentation and see how we're talking about things. The more you talk about the numbers, more comfortable you get with telling the story of what's going on with the numbers, okay? And seeing what the relationships are and looking at stuff. Now, I flew through this because I've been doing this for like probably decades. But you have the slides of, what are the things you need to be thinking about? How are you going to be doing all of this sort of stuff? We have the budget planner, so you can communicate with the clients on things. And then we go through and develop this budget. And again, what I would do here, I'll even add this kind of a summary, budget summary. So let's do, let me increase this. I'm trying to think of the easiest way that I can get this to you guys really quick. Okay, let's just do that. And then we're going to paste special. I'll just do paste a link. I know. Well, that's not exactly what I wanted it to look like. We'll just do the values for you guys. Okay, so let's just go in and hide some of this. So if I were to run the P&L in QBO, I could condense it because I'm using all these sub accounts, right? But I'm trying to get you that view real quick. Hopefully not missing anything. My fingers aren't working anymore. Come on. If only you guys could see me trying to do that over and over again. We can hide that. I guess I need to keep that in there since there were numbers last year. Okay. So having this as a view to have with your clients, do you see how this is so much easier to look at versus what they, that detailed thing? It's like, here, let's look at, here's what I have projecting out. Are you good with that number? Or do you think that, we can do that? And if they go into questions, then we can go into the detail, like how did I come up with that number, right? Cost of sales, like anything look unreasonable? Do we need to add more money to things? Do we need to subtract? Like knowing that I have $33,000 I'm projecting out at the end of the day, do I want to give any of that to the business, or do I need more for myself on this? So I can make adjustments to these things. So this is more of a view that I would be giving my clients so that I can have that conversation with them, because I'm telling you, our clients are not details on the numbers here. That's why they have us. Okay. So if you overwhelm them with numbers, they're just going to just like, yeah, I don't know, go fuzzy, not even pay attention. So we got to make it easy for them to look at it and be like, okay. And it's still hard. This is still going to be hard for them to grasp. So we got to make it as easy as possible for them to grasp what we were trying to accomplish and to have them communicate with. So, okay. This is really awesome. Really glad I signed up for this webinar. Thanks. Thank you, James. And thank you for the time to build the summary. Super helpful to wrap it up. Perfect. I'm glad that that helps. Like, yeah, I just could realize that I wasn't like, I know what I wanted to look like, but it wasn't, yeah. Again, the same thing. You guys got to see it visually to know what's going on, right? Um, so that's just it. Think of it as a same example. Like I can explain it, but you had no idea what I was talking about. You got to have that visual picture. You got to have some sort of picture for you. So, um, great guys. That's going to be it. I don't think I have any other questions. Just looking up this stuff, and I will get you the Excel file too, so that you guys can get that in there. Does QBO have a budgeting function to help with this? Yes. Well, not to help with this. You just kind of put in all your numbers. So then you can run budget versus actual reporting, and then that can add to your monthly conversations with your clients to look at how things are operating. And I would actually suggest, if you're getting into the budget area, to revisit your budget every quarter, um, because if you're not meeting your goals and meeting your budget within like the first quarter, you're going to have to update the numbers for the rest of the year so that you get there. Nothing worse than um, yeah, just keeping that budget static. It needs to evolve. And in QBO, you can do unlimited budgets. So even you can have my original budget, my revised first quarter budget, do all of that. You can run reports off of them and get different, information to your clients. Now, I will say I don't like QBO's reports for budgets very well. There's a very much. I do a lot of exporting into Excel and then making it prettier so that I can communicate with the clients and review them and stuff like that. So. Okay, guys, I think that was it, the last question. Thank you for sticking with me for a little bit longer. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to reach out. And also keep a lookout for on QBO Chat and sign up for the newsletter so you can get updates on future trainings and things going on. So again, thank you guys. I hope you have an amazing day and feel free to reach out if you have any questions at all. I am always here ready to help you guys, which however I can. So thank you all and I will see you later. Bye guys.